Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Trail Talk. We are coming to you live from the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma, right here in our classroom studio. I'm Edie.
And I'm Mary.
And we are continuing on with our First Americans Fighting for the U.S. series, which is really, I know, it's really just keeps
lot of
going.
information.
There is a ton of information. There actually is. This time we're looking at the Korean War. Before we change slides though, I found this information today. Historically, are we unmuted? Oh, okay. Historically, Native Americans have the highest record of military service per capita when compared to other ethnic groups. Native Americans have distinctive cultural values which drive them to serve their country. One such value is their proud warrior tradition. I thought that was so interesting. Per capita.
Doesn't matter where.
Right, right. They more per capita, more Native Americans per capita have served in wars than any other ethnic
And
group.
you hardly ever hear about it.
Exactly. So maybe that says something about like the total population, the total capita, whatever that word would be, of Native Americans,
Right.
but one thing that I hadn't thought about, and this is bad on my part, is in the Korean War, there are Hawaiians who are Native Americans.
Yes.
Here in Oklahoma, we tend to focus on,
Right.
The people, the
civilized tribes
who were brought here.
Yeah.
But actually, Hawaiians are Native
Mhm.
American as well.
Right.
That it's just that before the
It's
Korean
classified and
War,
broken down.
well,
Kind of. They're still Native American, but
they
they're
were
not.
not
this area.
they were not a part of the
Mhm.
United States. Like
Which is
maybe they
crazy.
were a territory or something at some point, but at any rate, they're included in this. So Native Americans during the Korean War, a World War II and Korean War veteran said, "People ask me, why did you go? Look at all the mistreatment that has been done to your people." And he said, somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to defend this country. Somebody's got to defend the freedom. This is the reason why I went. Spoken like a true patriot. Exactly. And so this is just kind of a general picture.
Looks like maybe the camera was falling down.
Yeah, I know, it is a little bit at an angle there. But this is from the Korean War time. After World War II, the 45th, which we talked about last time, how it was, I can't remember, almost all Native Americans back in World War I they were the Thunderbirds. They had the insignia. And then after World War I, they became a National Guard unit, and they were predominant. It was predominantly Native Americans. And then after World War II, it was headquartered in Oklahoma only. And then when the Korean conflict broke out in 1950, the prestigious Thunderbirds were called overseas again. They were one of only 2 National Guard divisions deployed to Korea.
Really?
So that
we want you.
Yeah, that reputation. And I'm guessing that if you were a member of that
Prestigious.
Yes, you felt that desire
Honor.
to serve, and it was very important. But they served in the Yeoncheon Chorwan area. I'm sure I didn't say that correctly, but let me say some terms that we're probably more familiar with.
Okay.
Old Baldy, Pork Chop Hill, Heartbreak Ridge, and Luke's Castle areas of Korea.
Ridge for sure.
Yeah. This was a Native American and a Korean man. Just another example of he was from up north. He was not from Oklahoma. But that roughly like 10,000 Native Americans served in the Korean War.
That's so cool. Is there a reason for this?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't notice that. So this is the 45th
Dog.
Infantry. Yeah, this is, I believe this is a picture from Pork Chop Hill.
It says. Yes.
Where they-
Our Korean battlefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it is.
There were 5, let's see, what's this say? Oh, so 10 years after the Korean conflict was over, the 45th Infantry disbanded completely. But there were 5 Oklahomans, well, no, that's a different picture that we had last time. But anyway, this is just a picture of some of the members of the 45th Infantry who were a part of the Pork Chop Hill incident. Man, while I was looking at this information, I found a photographer's website. It was Life Magazine's, this photographer's series of photographs from
The Korean
the Korean War. I didn't find any photographs that were had the information about Native Americans, so I didn't include any of them, but wow. Those embedded photographers,
I was gonna say,
that seems
and
terrifying.
who's to say during wartime, I'm a photographer, don't shoot.
Exactly.
Or a medic.
I mean, they have to wear helmets and gear. They just don't. They just don't carry guns.
Crazy.
They don't carry weapons. And you know the thing about the Korean War, so you know, there was a lot of air power, tanks and all that kind of equipment. Guns, you know, are
Built up
always
and-
becoming better and everything, but still, you know, if you remember watching MASH, MASH was set during the Korean War. And so if that might help you think about how primitive
Relating to
some of
different things.
some of the things were, and this was 1950s compared to today. And just, I mean, it's just every time there was a war, things had evolved, and yet still it was freezing cold. The winters there were. And if you ever go to Washington, D.C., the Korean War Memorial Monument,
I've heard it's amazing.
it is, it's just this flat open area, and there are men. They're not life-size, they're a little bit bigger.
Like a monument or statue.
They are
type
a
thing,
statue of men who are
representing them.
dressed like these guys, but they have on like a rain poncho. And so some of them have a turtle. Some of them do. They're carrying their firearms, and you can tell that they are engaged in a marching type thing, but they're not like in a single file line, they're spread out. And so they're walking into something they're not 100% sure what that is. And you can tell the guy with the radio equipment, there's a like antenna, you know, and all of these men with all of these different responsibilities. It's just very moving. I have chills.
Imagine just walking up to it.
Yeah.
It's just,
I have
words
chills
couldn't describe it.
just thinking about what it's like, and just there are a lot of stories about how cold it was, and there were MASH episodes, you know, where they were just
freezing.
They, you know, MASH, I know it was like a mobile unit, but these soldiers were probably out in those elements a lot.
Or, you know, relied upon.
Yeah, it wasn't like a heated tent.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like urgent care clinics.
Yeah. Oh, here's the picture of Pork Chop Hill. This guy has an injury. You can see that they have been engaged in fighting. I mean, if there were trees
down in a
trench there, yeah, if there were trees, those trees are gone now. You know how when a tornado comes through and they'll say it looks like a war zone?
Right.
This is the kind of thing that they're referring to, where the trees are just damaged because bombs and whatever have just uprooted and destroyed. You can tell
behind
this soil is very loose, you know, like
all kinds of things
have-
mixed in there. with it.
yeah. So anyway, it is anyway, I just thought it was a really good picture to
And he
be
looks
able to see.
like maybe a
Oh, like
island.
a South Korean maybe
South Korean.
who is fighting, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, these, like I said, these photographs, I feel like sometimes these things have more information, a picture's worth 1,000 words. that sometimes just looking at these pictures really tells the story better than we can. So this is Private First Class Charles George. And he was a Cherokee from North Carolina. He was a member of the 45th. Okay. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor. Last time I read a couple of the citations. And so I wanted to tell his story because I feel like these are the things that Hollywood sensationalizes. And I know they can recreate some of the horrors, but this is a real man, not a movie script. This is a real man.
Real emotion.
So this happened the night of November 30th, 1952. He was a member of a raiding party committed to engage the enemy and capture a prisoner for interrogation. Forging up the rugged slope of the key terrain feature, the group was subjected to intense mortar and machine gun fire and suffered several casualties. Throughout the advance, he fought valiantly and upon reaching the crest of the hill, leaped into the trenches and closed with the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. When friendly troops were ordered to move back upon completion of the assignment, he and two comrades remained to cover the withdrawal. While in the process of leaving the trenches, a hostile soldier hurled a grenade in their midst. Private First Class George shouted a warning to one comrade, pushed the other soldier out of danger, and with full knowledge of the consequences, unhesitatingly threw himself upon the grenade, absorbing the full blast of the explosion. Although seriously wounded in this display of valor, he refrained from any outcry which would divulge the position of his companions.
This is all happening just like this.
Yeah, the two soldiers evacuated him to the forward aid station, and shortly thereafter he succumbed to his wounds. But that willing self-sacrifice,
Not even thinking, just
without even thinking.
his movies, it would have been, drug out. It would have
Yeah.
been like,
Yeah, he sees it and he goes into action. He tells one, and he does it quietly.
and then doesn't even cry out in pain.
Yeah. So, Private First Class Charles George, thank you for your service, and we are glad to be able to talk about that. Okay, Pascal Cletus Poulaw Jr. I have known people whose last name was Poulaw, so this kind of got my attention. This is an honor dance. This is him holding the flag. This happened near Carnegie, Oklahoma, where he was from. And let me find his, he was Kiowa, and these are the Kiowa War Mothers. He remains the most decorated American Indian soldier in history, having earned 42 medals and citations during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Overachieved, man.
Right. I mean, I
Talk about your dedication and
Yeah.
patriotism.
three different
I mean,
wars.
fighting in one alone, but then doing it through two more wars.
And World War II, I mean, that was one that really
Vietnam.
was terribly
Mhm,
hard on people. But I just loved all of this. You can see all the Native people, they're out in an area that probably is a
And the
meaningful,
generations, yes.
kind of place to them. I don't know, Carnegie has a park just on the edge of town. It could be down in that area, but I just thought that this was so great and that all these people had come out to honor him. Pascal Cletus Poulaw Jr. I thought that was a great name. Here's some of that information about, he was one of the guys who started in World War II and joined up for Korea too. Sometimes they re-enlisted so they would have a
I
secure
was gonna
paying
say for
job.
money and
Right, because World War II ended in 1945. It was 1946 or later by the time some people got home. And there just weren't jobs
no,
for everyone.
no, especially if you were injured and had to wait to come home or you were
Or-
like getting out.
I mean, the Native American people were a
Treatment
minority.
issues Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, they would join back up and go it off.
Or their family.
But about 10,000 Native Americans fought during that war. Okay, here's the rest of the information about Poulaw. So he was born in Apache, which is like 6 miles from where I grew up, or my parents live.
I drive there for us.
Yeah, Apache is where Timothy Tate Navaquoya
Mhm.
is from.
Mhm.
Apache is where
There's a rattlesnake festival there,
yeah,
too.
there's a rattlesnake festival there. The sculptor that we have, Alan Hauser.
Mm.
Alan Hauser was born in Apache. Anyway, so he had 3 other brothers. He joined the army in 1942, received his first Purple Heart and Silver Star in Belgium. He received 2 more Silver Stars and a Distinguished Service Cross in Korea. He went to Vietnam, and while he was there, he was ambushed and killed, and he received his 4th Silver Star posthumously. But I mean, wow. Wow, just such an honor to be able.
And when he was deployed to Vietnam, it also says here that he was the first sergeant of C Company.
Oh, wow, yeah, so he had moved up
Mhm.
also. So some veterans returned after Korea. They returned to their tribal communities, and they became active in revitalizing some of their traditions, their ceremonies, things like that. Things that by this time, the 1950s, so probably the government's like moving on from some of the
Some cultural things maybe starting to get lost.
yeah, overextension of their responsibility with the Native Americans. And so the Native Americans are feeling like this is our time.
Right.
This is our time. Native people would honor their duty as American citizens while also remaining faithful to their indigenous way of life. So they finally
They're saying, hey, we
became
can do both.
citizens. Yeah, we can serve
Right.
here, and we can remember
We're not turning our backs
cultures.
on you.
Yes, exactly. All right, Master Sergeant Woodrow Wilson Keeble. I'm not gonna lie, some of these guys have the coolest names.
He has a lot of decorations.
Yes, so he was also World War II veteran and then joined up back again in Korea. And when he did that, he said, somebody has to teach these kids how to fight. So, I mean,
Sounds like my grandfather back then.
yeah, he was like 1917, so 1950, he was 33 years old
Proud
at
of his
that
life.
time. Yeah. He was known in his community as a gentle soul, but he was a ferocious frontline warrior.
One of those big teddy bears.
Yeah, he was decorated with the Distinguished Service Cross, the Purple Heart, and the Bronze Star. And in 2008, 26 years after his death, he was awarded the Medal of Honor for conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. All of these citations, I just reading them, it gives me chills, and it almost brings tears to my eyes.
It kind of puts me
There,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Like, what would I do? And
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
like, it took that long though for him to get that Medal of Honor.
Yeah,
And he was already passed.
yeah. I don't know
What
why
the
they
steps
pulled
of
back.
those.
Yeah, what would have prevented him from receiving it earlier? But then lastly, we have John Imhula Jr. He was also a member of the 45th Infantry. I liked because you could see the Thunderbird clearly in this picture.
Young guy,
Yeah.
at least when this picture was taken.
Anyway,
One
he
of
was
5 brothers.
yeah, who served in the military. Can you imagine?
Being that mother.
And sending all 5 of your sons off, not knowing if they
I
might
might have
return or not.
Last week, giving some food
Right.
poisoning or something to
I
that guy
mean,
before.
But
Man.
he came back to and became active in the fight for Native Nations treaty rights. So, I mean, he served his country, but he came back with a mission.
Right.
He was Kiowa and Arapaho. Most likely born in somewhere here in Oklahoma. But just another great example of, first Americans choosing to, they were a part of an unorganized country.
Disorganized time in
Yeah,
our country.
Yeah, and then the US becomes a country. and they finally are able to become citizens and serve
Right.
with that same
As if nothing
conviction.
had happened.
Yeah,
Well, I was sitting there thinking after I said that, his mother though could have been honored that her sons
Oh,
did all that.
that is true.
So,
That is
you know,
very
they could
true.
have had that.
Yeah, that could be very true. So just, the Korean War was, it wasn't long, but I think I read like 34,000 American soldiers died over there, or Americans that weren't all soldiers, they were, sailors or Marines or
Right.
but just knowing another time when there was a place in the world, people who needed help.
On the draft and.
Yeah, and people went and
Some didn't
they
come
were
home.
drafted for Korea. That's what they said. Some of the younger Native American men were drafted. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying all of this, because this is really an eye-opening
It is.
education for me.
I've never dove into this or heard about it, even in school.
Yeah, so anyway, we have more. We might deviate from this part and next week talk about some first American women serving through the years.
Like the scenic route.
Yes, exactly. And then we'll come back because we have Vietnam and some more recent things to cover. And there's some information out there about all of that. So we don't want to give it all away. Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow, very excited. Our special guest is Matt Axton.
I've had to tie her down.
Right? Yeah. Matt dropped by, I don't know, a little over a year ago. Yeah. He was he'd been out in Nashville with his band, and they'd been playing some gigs out there and stuff. Came to Duncan because his grandmother, May Axton, and his dad, Hoyt Axton, had lived here for some time. And so he wanted to come through. And if May and Hoyt are names familiar too, May is the person who wrote Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis Presley.
Well, I've heard of it.
And then Hoyt was a singer-songwriter, had his own
Musical
career. Yeah, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. I've never been to Spain. I mean, some of those really great hits. And then Matt is a singer-songwriter.
Naturally, so there.
And he is playing tomorrow night as the season opener for the Chisholm Trail Arts Council concert series. And so he's going to stop by here tomorrow afternoon.
Guess where you'll be first though.
Yeah, that's right. Because he is now on tour.
Hey.
I know. I can't wait to talk to him
Rose.
about how maybe that trip to Nashville last year has paid off.
Right.
I'm anxious
Get
to
some
see.
green tips.
Yeah, exactly. I want to hear how this is all panned out. So tune in tomorrow and join us in our chat with Matt Axton.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Happy
Happy trails.